This is Sunday, July 14th. There are 10 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2024. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
BANUHTEE go. Oh my God, I love Live Journal and my Live Journal loves me. Current movies, hyperactive, current music, Refuge 73. I love the color scheme in pink and purple.
Good evening, everybody. I'm your host, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast tonight, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for joining us.
And also joining us from the unofficial blog, Aaron Tapkin.
Hi, everybody.
And he did not get enough reading off names and things last Friday, so Johnny Dew has joined us again.
I'm back. Hello.
All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is part 2, so we're going to be covering Saturday and Sunday of the of Comic-Con schedule. We'll be taking comments and questions during the show, mainly about the schedule only. We will have one more podcast Tuesday night to cover everything else. You can tweet us at SD_comic_con. You can use the hashtag SDConCast. We will also be keeping an eye on the YouTube live chat if you wish to comment there. So is there anything we need to cover before we get started with Saturday, Carrie?
I think the only thing that is truly important is the online exclusives portal closes on July 18th. Once again, you do not have to rush to enter. You could absolutely do it July 18th. Just don't forget. And if you submitted early and you want to make changes because they've added some new stuff or you've just changed your mind, we did put up a guide today on how to reallocate those points. So check that out on the site. But everything else, you can find it on our website.
Nice. All right. So how this works is we're going to cover a bunch of the bigger rooms, and we're going to go through all the panels that are in there, and then we're going to talk about room flow and which ones you can expect to be the roadblocks for seeing the panel you want in there. And then when we're all done, we're going to give some dark horse picks for little smaller panels that we think may need to be highlighted, and we're going to talk about overall kind of what we feel about the schedule when we're all done. I think that's it. So we're going to kick it off with Aaron covering room 7AB.
Yes. Room 7AB. This is a room that holds about 480 people. It starts at 10 a.m. with Boom Studios. They're going to be making announcements and giving you a first look presentation of everything they've got coming up for the next 12 months, plus a giveaway of an exclusive collectible spotlighting an upcoming release. At 11 o'clock, it's 20 years of Scott Pilgrim. That's going to be with creator Brian Lee O'Malley. It's really hard to believe it's been 20 years since that first came out. This is going to be a one-on-one conversation with Brian, looking ahead to what's happened and where the future of the franchise is going. At 12 p.m., it's Shadow Baddies. These are writers who have books with protagonists who... I wouldn't call them like villains or anything, but characters are a little bit on the darker side. That's going to include writers Adeline Grace, Sarah Hawley, Bridget Kammerer, Raven Kennedy, and Angela Montoya. At 1 p.m., it's Spotlight on J. Michael Straczynski. He has had a huge year. He's going to be talking about all the stuff that he's had come out this year, The Glass Box, an actual Becoming a Writer nonfiction book, an audio drama with Penguin Random House, and a create your own book from Dark Horse. And he's also going to be talking about how this is his 40th anniversary as a television writer. At 2 p.m. in this room is actually something I probably would have picked up. It's a Dark Horse pick because this is exciting to me. This is the Red Dead history Q&A, going behind the scenes of Red Dead's history audiobook. And it's going to be, the book's going to be read by Roger Clark, who did the voice of Arthur Morgan in Red Dead Redemption 2. They're going to watch the premiere, a little bit of the mini documentary about the making of the audiobook. I'm very excited about that. There'll also be a Q&A. 3 p.m. is Oddball Comics, Oddball Cartoonist, with none other than special guest Scott Shaw. He's going to be talking about Scott Shaw's Comics and Stories. That's one of his newer projects, and Kilgore Home Nursing. At 4:30 p.m., it's Hanna-Barbera, The Recorded History. This is hosted by Mark Evanier, and he's going to have actor Tim Matheson, cartoon voice performer Katie Lee, animator and animation historian, and another Comic-Con special guest Tom Cito, and an author Greg Urbar. At 5:30, it's crowdfunding comics with Zoop, with Jordan Plosky. He's the co-founder of Zoop, and Eric Moss, the other co-founder. No creator names have been mentioned in this description, but they do say they're going to talk with some of comic crowdfunding's biggest names. 6:30 p.m., enter the Latina superhero Gloria Calderon-Kellett, showrunner for Amazon's With Love and Netflix One Day at a Time. Will be there. Jolene Rodriguez, Judalina Nira, who works as co-executive producer and writer on The Boys. Patricia Riggin and Caden Phoenix are going to be discussing the pipeline programming and proper development of bringing Latina superheroes to mainstream audiences. 7:30 p.m., Breaking Boundaries, Diversity and Representation in Modern Horror. This group of folks includes Eduardo Sanchez, Dara Taylor, Kevin Jiggets, Yognik Bontemps, and Jeffrey Reddick. They're going to talk a little bit about being in the artistic trenches of the film industry's horror corner while also pursuing representation. And then at the end of the evening at 8:30 p.m. is Doctor Who Science and History. We've got archaeologist and historian Alex Bagosi, Justin Daub, a science teacher and a moderator, Jennifer Bagosi. They're going to talk about some of the real world science and historical events that you come across in Doctor Who. And that's it for that room.
It's a
good stuff.
Full day. Yeah, it's a full day.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are there any choke points there? Do we think, I mean, the room only seats 480. That's not a lot.
I can see people for Brian Lee O'Malley and J. Michael Straczynski, I think, are probably the two biggest names that are in there.
Right.
Yeah, totally agreed. I've been to that JMS panel before. I would recommend for that one at least showing up probably at least 30 minutes early. And then, I don't know, for Brian Lee O'Malley, especially because it's like a big anniversary year, like maybe even an hour, like if you're worried.
Right.
And the Boom Studios panel is not a bad one to have to sit through if you're wanting to wait for Brian Lee O'Malley.
Yeah. And real quick, so for anybody who didn't tune into our last episode, or if this is your first time listening, when we talk about like time to line up, we are never talking about like, oh, I want to be in the front row. Like, we talk about times to line up, and we just mean like to get into the room, to make it before it cuts off. That is all we are discussing.
Do you think that there's going to be any issue getting into the Red Dead audiobook? Because, I mean, that may end up being like one of those surprise popular kind of panels.
I definitely think that Red Dead's a super popular game. The fact that one of the guys that did the main character's voice, or the guy that did the main character's voice, is going to be there is I think going to be a draw. But I think there's going to be a lot of people leaving after J. Michael Straczynski. So I feel like anyone who just wants to see Red Dead and doesn't want to have to make the extra commitment to sit through Straczynski will hopefully
But just get there during Straczynski sometime.
Yeah, like
half
line
an
up.
hour.
Yeah,
half an hour or so. Okay. All right.
That's my
Pretty
plan.
easy.
And anyway.
All right. Next up, and now again, we're covering the Saturday schedule of Comic-Con, room 6DE, Carrie.
So 6DE holds around 884, so about double of the one we just discussed. But things kick off at 10 a.m. with celebrating 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons, which has industry experts. It's got Jim Zub, who is a great IDW comics guy and the author of Dungeons and Dragons, and a whole bunch of awesome folks. And then at 11:15 is Roll Inish, how to turn tabletop RPGs into live entertainment. And it has several folks, including someone from Critical Role, as well as some of the YouTube tabletop RPG games like Faster, Purple Worm, Kill Kill. And then at 12:30 is what's happening in the DC multiverse. They don't list any panelists, but it says that you will hear directly from some of the superstar writers and artists. And then at 1:45 is DC's Gotham panel. And again, it does not list any talent. It just says top talent. So the thing with both of those panels is basically like they could be super cool, they could be super packed, but it all depends on who is on them. And then at 3 p.m. is Bear McCreary, who is the composer who has done the scores for tons of things across TV and movies, including The Walking Dead, Lord of the Rings of Power, God of War, and so much more. He'll be talking about his career. And then at 4:15 p.m. is Athletes in Tabletop Games, which I think this is funny. Do your gym friends make faces when you try to tell them about your latest epic D&D session? So I don't know. I think that's funny. But this is basically about tabletop game nerds who are also into working out. And it's got some folks again. It's got Iffy Waitawa from Critical Role, as well as others. And then at 5:30 p.m. is Isla Monstro Behind the Screams, which will be a look at the upcoming independent film. And it's got several actors, including Juliana Harkavy from Arrow, actor and comedian James Schrader, Gigi Edgley from Farscape, Andre Gower from the Monster Squad, and more. And then at 6:45 p.m. is Hellboy, The Crooked Man First Look, which is a first look at that upcoming film. And again, it's got several cast members, including Jack Kesey from Deadpool 2, Jefferson White from Yellowstone, and more. And then at 8 p.m. is Cyanide and Happiness, How to Make a Funny, which has several of the folks talking about that, and they will have never before seen Cyanide and Happiness footage. So quite a few different things in this room on Saturday.
So it's a wide variety of stuff too. So I think there's going to be a lot of coming and going for people. Lots of room as people come, come for the DC and leave to go somewhere else. And then people for the music come in and then leave. And then people for the games come in and then leave.
It's interesting that they have them kind of chunked up too. There's like 2 gaming ones. Then we've got 2 DC ones. Then we have the Bear McCreary, and then it goes back to tabletop gaming.
So I think that the DC stuff is going to be pretty well attended, because if you want to know who may be there, I mean, just look at who DC has as their list of in other panels or on their list of who's going to be signing at their booth. And most likely those are the people who will be at these 2 panels. Bear McCreary is a pretty big draw, considering he's done so much music for so many big things in fandoms. But I think that the thing that may again be one of the surprise things where a ton of people show up is the Hellboy movie, because this is the return of Hellboy to the creator, Mike Mignola, I think, basically, and it looks like they're going to try again to make a movie, but this time like from actual like paying attention to Hellboy instead of just whatever Hollywood wants to do. And the fact that it's talking with the people making the movie are there. I think this may be a big deal. So this is the one to watch out for. If you want to get to any of these ones that we mentioned, I would say definitely be there half an hour early. And keep an eye on what people are talking about for the Hellboy. If you think that one's one that maybe, well, it's at 8:00. So those are always tough to call that late, because there's not a lot competing except for people wanting to get back to their hotel or get in line for the next day or whatever they may be doing. So it's really hard to tell what kind of competition there is, but there's no panel competition. So be aware that this one may be
It's at 6:45, not 8. Just
I was looking right below it.
Yeah.
There's still less competition because the con closes at 7. So
totally.
But yeah, there's less competition for this late. So be aware that some people may decide to just head to this instead of going out to dinner right away. or whatever else they're doing. So plan ahead on this one, I think. Anything else stand out for this?
I'm
I don't
excited
think
about
so.
Andre Gower showing up for Isla Monstro from the Monster Squad. That's exciting to me, but
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of good folks on
Yeah.
that panel. Gigi Edgley, I know she's
Yep.
got a ton of fans at the con.
plus I'm just kind of curious about the whole thing. Like it's animated, but I just don't know anything about it. So looks interesting.
All right. So
Okay.
next up, we have room 6A. And Johnny, why don't you handle that one?
All right. Thanks, James. Room 6A holds approximately 1,040 people. So we start at 10 a.m. with Corvus Belli's Infinity Comes to Animation. So this is a futuristic tabletop war game, excuse me, that takes a galactic step into animation via the creative vision of renowned animation director Jay Oliva. So here you're going to see the first public screening of footage, get the scoop on latest castings, and you're going to hear from directors, the founders, a few voice cast members. And most importantly, as the panel swag guy, every panel attendee will receive a Comic-Con exclusive Infinity mini figurine. At 11:15 a.m., we go over to the Toys That Made Us. The series The Toys That Made Us reinvigorated our love for TMNT, Star Wars, Barbie, Transformers, and other toys fans have grown nostalgic for. And so after nearly 5 years since the last episode, Brian Volk-Weiss and the Nacelle team will share an update about the future of the documentary series about the toys we all know. At 12:30 p.m., it's the busiest man at Comic-Con, Jack Quaid, for Michael Connolly's The Safe Man, which is an Audible original. So this panel will have, along with Jack Quaid, who's starring in it, it's going to have the author as well, Michael Connolly, and they'll have a conversation discussing how this pulse-pounding detective story comes to life as a hit Audible original podcast. At 1:45 p.m., we've got Winona Earp, Vengeance. So I know the Earpers are very excited. So you're gonna see most of the main cast there. You're gonna see Melanie Scorfano, Tim Rozon, Dom Provost Chalkley, Catherine Barrell, and creator Emily Andrus to discuss new adventures in the 90-minute scripted special on Tubi. Following that at 3 p.m. is going to be Marvel Comics X-Men from the Ashes. So here, editor-in-chief C.B. Cebulski, executive editor extraordinaire Tom Brevoort, and other masterminds will have first looks, behind-the-scenes reveals, and thrilling announcements, and you will also get a exclusive giveaway comic at the end of it. 4:15 to 5:15 p.m. is Skybound and Conversation with Robert Kirkman. I think he does this most years. So it's a Q&A with fans discussing the worlds of Invisible, The Walking Dead, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. It's Intergalactic Friendship Panel, Star Trek and Doctor Who. So these are the two showrunners for those two franchises, Alex Kurtzman and Russell Davies. They will come together to celebrate the power of friendship. So, and then 6:45 to 7:45 p.m. will be NASA's search for habitable worlds in the universe. So the question is, how does real-world science connect to science fiction in the search for an Earth-like planet? You're going to have a bunch of NASA scientists who are smarter than all of us. They're going to discuss potentially habitable exoplanets, and it's going to be moderated by Michael Giacchino, who you may know as the award-winning composer of the film Up. And then finally, to close up the night, it's the simulcast at 8:30 of the Masquerade. Looks like it's the 50th anniversary. So of course, this goes on in Ballroom 20. If you're unable to get tickets or you don't, you want a smaller crowd away from Sales Pavilion, this is another overflow room for you as well. So that is 6A.
Another room with a lot going on, and
So
I
much.
think what's going to be a lot of turnover.
It looks
But
like
yeah, but where do we think the chokeholds are going to be?
Toys That Made Us.
Why? Oh, I was gonna say why not Earp? Yeah.
I tried to go see the first. I think it was the first Toys That Made Us, which would have been in 2008.
18 or 19.
18 or 19. Yeah. We showed up an hour early and never got in.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's going to be huge. I think Winona Earp's going to be huge. And I also think that Doctor Who and Star Trek panel
Yeah.
is going to be huge.
and just like huge minus is going to be the X-Men and the Kirkman panels.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just a day full of stuff that's going to probably fill the room for each thing, and with the people who are then going to be waiting for whatever's next. So which ones do you think you have to get there in the panel before, and which ones do you think you have to get there before the panel before?
Well, I mean, as Aaron just said, if an hour was not enough for the Toys That Made Us, then I think probably plan on earlier than that for that one. And if especially because like Doctor Who is in there later in the day, if I wanted to go to Winona Earp, like I would get there probably at least 2 hours early, at least.
Okay.
And same thing with Doctor Who. Like I would try to be there like when Winona Earp gets out, if not before.
Right.
Because I think a lot of the Earpers will leave and you'll be able to filter in.
So basically between Winona Earp and Doctor Who, with their squeezing in the X-Men and Robert Kirkman, it's unfortunate that a lot of people are probably going to sit through those who, while they may be at least tangentially interested in them, they're basically going to be waiting for Doctor Who or Star Trek panel. Now, it's just the showrunner, and I say just the showrunners, but it is the showrunners
It's just
only.
the showrunner, but it's Russell T Davies who, like, when was the last time he was even at the convention?
Right.
So I think that's going to be a huge draw, and I think a lot of folks will also assume that this will be easier to get into than Hall H.
Right.
So they might be willing to try to make it to this one.
Okay. So yeah, plan to fight for it this day. So and get there the panel before, like at the beginning of the panel before for one of the non-huge ones, and get there 2 panels before for the ones you really just can't miss.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. Okay. Anything else on 6A? Actually, hold on. I want to take a moment to talk about Jack Wade, who, as Jody said, is truly what feels like the busiest person at Comic-Con. He's on this panel for The Safe Man. He's on The Boys. He's on My Adventures with Superman. And he's on something else. What's the other one?
I thought there were at least 4.
There's 4. What else is he on?
Well, good for him.
Yeah,
It's kind of
truly,
exciting.
like, just absolutely insane.
And it's all
the
like
thing is,
very
like,
different stuff too. Really different
yeah,
stuff.
it's all totally different stuff, and you know he's doing press for it too. It's just like wild to think that he's doing so much. Anyway, all right, shall we move on to 6BCF, which is Aaron?
Yes, that's me. 6BCF. That one holds about 2,160 people. They are starting off at 10:30 in the morning with a very, very popular one, The Dragon Prince, epic launch week celebration celebrating season 6 of the and which is premiering on July 26th. And then they're also going to be talking about the highly anticipated video game. At 11:45, it's Quick Draw, the very popular Quick Draw with Mark Evanier and Scott Shaw. They are going to be I think Mark Evanier is going to be kind of leading this. They're going to be he's going to be moderating, and Scott Shaw, Lalo Alcaraz, and Disney legend Floyd Norman are going to be drawing cartoons based on suggestions from the audience and from Mark Evanier. This one's always extremely popular. And right after that, Mark Evanier is going to be there again at 1:00 for Cartoon Voices 1 of 2. Demonstrating their craft are going to be the folks who have done some of the voices for Captain Planet, G.I. Joe, Young Jedi Adventures, Gabby's Dollhouse, Fast and Furious Spy Racers, Porky Pig, Tweety, Final Fantasy Skylanders, X-Men 97, and Voltron Legendary Defender. I decided to name those the characters because I didn't know if the names would resonate. Like I'm not good with names, so
It's okay.
Okay. World premiere screening after that for Prime Video's Batman Cape Crusader that starts at 2:45. Executive producer Matt Reeves and members of the cast. Unfortunately, they don't mention any members of the cast, but they are going to be talking about this reimagining of the Batman mythology, which is through the visionary lenses of executive producers J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Bruce Timm. At 4 p.m., DreamWorks Animation's The Wild Robot, based on the best-selling phenomenon by Peter Brown. This one is going to be an in-depth panel conversation with Oscar Award-nominated writer and director Chris Sanders, and also Oscar Award winner Lupita Nyong'o and Kit Connor from Heartstoppers. At 5:15, it's Alien Rogue Incursion, the VR game. Chief Product Officer TQ Jefferson, Tate Mosian, Studio Art Director Eugene Elkin, Lead Software Engineer Alex White, writer and Sarah Barone, a composer. They're going to talk about developing an authentic experience for fans of the Alien franchise and why xenomorphs are perfect for VR gaming. Attendees are going to be the first to witness gameplay footage, some exciting new reveals, and a behind-the-scenes look as what is to be expected. At 6:30, it's Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. It's the 5th anniversary of Demon Slayer, and they're going to have the stars of the series, Zach Aguilar, Abby Trott, Alex Lay, Bryce Papenbrook, hosted by Aiko Makino. This next one, it says it starts at 6.
I know. I was literally just
this
trying
must
to
be
see,
like
'cause I'm like, there's no
7:45.
way.
Let's go
It
with
has to be. It
7:45.
does say that on the schedule, but there's
Okay.
no way that's right.
Later at 7:45, we're going to go with 7:45. It's going to be a screening of Sandland from the creator of Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama. This is the latest animated movie, Sandland. Going to be screening the film for attendees. And then at 10 p.m., it's a celebration of Hasman Hotel with Hot Topic. Exclusive merch reveals, trivia, prizes, sing-along, and more. And dressing up is very encouraged. And that's it. It's like a whole huge day from 10:30 in the morning to 11 at night.
Yeah, it's going to be packed.
Yes. Based only on what I've seen on Twitter, this Dragon Prince
Is
panel's
huge.
gonna be, yeah.
And I will say, so I misspoke on the last podcast because at the time it didn't dawn on me that there would in fact be 2 Dragon Prince panels. But this is the panel with the pen giveaway, not the other panel.
Okay.
So this one is the one with the free pen. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these are going to be hard to get into. Quick Draw and Cartoon Voices in a normal year are like be there at least an hour and a half to 2 hours early, and then put Matt Reeves in right after. And I don't know, what do we think?
Do they always put Cartoon Voices after Quick Draw, or was this just a complete
Yeah,
fluke?
they're always
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
always back to back.
Yeah. What do we think? Because
This
again,
is-
Quick Draw and Cartoon Voices we at least kind of know, but it's
Yeah.
got you put Matt Reeves after, and like I feel like that throws the whole thing
So
off.
I was in one of I can't remember which one I was in last year of the Quick Draw. I think I got in near the end of Quick Draw and stayed through part of Cartoon Voices, and the room was packed and they weren't letting anyone else in for the panel that was after it. And it's similar to the level of the Batman panel. So honestly, if you want to see Batman, you probably are going to need to be there for both Quick Draw and Cartoon Voices, because those will both fill up and they won't let out that much.
Honestly, I would say for probably everything like from Cape Crusader and before, like be there 2 hours early.
So if you want so if you want to see Cartoon Voices, let's say, just show up before the room opens, like at 10 o'clock, and just sit through everything until then.
I think the only chance of it opening up would be maybe after some people left after Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
But then you're going to have the
If
Quick
a lot
Draw
of Dragon
folks.
Prince, if a lot of Dragon Prince fans can actually get into the room will clear out significantly, and then you'll be able to go. So if you want to show up during Dragon Prince, you probably will allow a lot of Dragon Prince people to get in, and then the room will clear so that you can get in for the future panels.
Yeah. What do we think about DreamWorks The Wild Robot? Do we think that the Batman crowd is going to stay for that? It's got some big names on it. I mean, Lupita Nyong'o is definitely a big name. Kit Connor is as well.
Oh, I don't know, because I haven't really been feeling any buzz for the movie.
They seem so very different.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like if people stay, it's going to be because of the actors.
Yeah. And since the room holds a couple thousand, I honestly would not worry about the Wild Robot and On. I think a significant enough amount of people will be leaving after Batman that
Yeah.
if you show up during Batman, you're going to be able to get into the Wild Robot panel.
I agree. So to me, the only other wild card is Has-Been Hotel. That is a huge property, but it's 10 p.m. at night, which is crazy late. So I wouldn't think at 10 p.m. at night like that it would be packed, but
I think
maybe.
But then
I think
people will surprise you.
Yeah, I think people looking for a wacky Saturday night event that isn't a paid ticket party, like this might be it. And it is sponsored by Hot Topic. I know they don't mention anything, but Johnny, do you think that what are the chances Hot Topic comes empty-handed?
I mean, it says they've got trivia prizes in the description, so I would imagine they've got some stuff, but it is so late though.
And also you have to remember that the masquerade will be running through this and likely going in close to 11. So that's going to take a lot of people out because that's 5,000-6,000 people between sales and the main room and the overflow room will be watching that. If you're worried about it, show up a half an hour early, maybe. I mean, what else are you going to do? Get some food, head back to the con and relax.
Take a nap.
Oh, that too.
A quick cat nap. Come back.
Get a snack, get some dessert, have some dessert in the con, and you're good to go. Now, what about the two anime shows though? Do you think those will fill the room? Because I don't know what those what the fan numbers are on those.
Yeah.
Is this the second time they've done a Sandland screening?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Johnny,
do you wanna?
No, I was gonna say, I was gonna talk about the Demon Slayer.
Demon Slayer.
Have they had a panel before? I can't recall if they've had one.
I hear the name so often on toys and things that it's hard to remember if they've had a panel.
I mean, I don't know compared to what it was like 4 or 5 years ago, but the first movie that came out in theaters in I pulled it up in 2021, pulled in $500 million at the worldwide box office.
Okay. Yes, they have had a panel before.
Okay.
FYI.
So I don't know what room they're in, but I wouldn't necessarily sleep on that fan base either.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because I think honestly the only panel of the day that isn't going to have its own crowd pushing the limits of that room is the Alien panel, and that will still get a decent crowd because it's Alien.
I will say though, I do feel like a lot of the Demon Slayer folks might actually be out at the Crunchyroll One Piece concert because I feel like there's certainly a lot of crossover there.
Okay. But just be aware, again, they're going to be popular. So if you're worried, show up half an hour to an hour early.
Yeah.
And as always, as we always say, keep an eye on Twitter and room updates because they will be provided, or you can ask and see if, hey, is anyone in the room right now? What's it look like? And someone may be able to answer that. Just keep an eye on the hashtags.
And I also, real quick, believe that the Sandman screening last year, I think, gave out phenomenal swag. Like, I think they gave out like hats and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that may also pull in some folks, and it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, Happy Bear says that the anime panels will fill up. It's almost the finale, and it's super popular. So yeah.
Well, we also have a comment that said from Van Demon Slayer last year we went in the panel before and got in. So
yeah.
Okay.
There's a data point for you.
Yep. Show up like an hour early. And again, for all of this stuff as well, like if you're concerned, the best thing you can do, I know some of you are no longer on Twitter, but go onto Twitter and literally just search like 6 BCF. And because nobody else is going to be using that except Comic-Con people, and you will hopefully get some line updates.
Yep. Okay, so we're going to head on over to the Indigo Ballroom, and Johnny's going to take care of that one for us.
All right, sorry to hop back real quick, but I forgot about this because it wasn't in the panel description from 6A, but the Intergalactic Friendship panel with Kurtzman and Davies does have a poster giveaway designed by artist Dusty Abel. So that's not in the panel description, but there's another incentive for you to go to that if you're interested.
And if you're interested in more panel giveaways, you can check out an awesome guide that Johnny put together that is on our site now.
Yes. Did a lot of reading this weekend. A lot of reading. All right. So Indigo Ballroom holds approximately 2,663 people. So we start off with 10 a.m. with My Adventures with Superman. And once again, it's our friend Jack Quaid, Alice Lee, and Ishmael Saeed who will answer, along with some of the executive producers. They will answer burning questions from season 2 and also take a look ahead to season 3. At 11:15 a.m., Everybody Still Hates Chris. It's a reimagined adult animated series coming to Comedy Central, inspired by Chris Rock's experience growing up in Brooklyn during the late 1980s. So it sounds like you're probably going to get a pilot screening or a sneak peek along with a panel discussion. Next up, 12:30 p.m., ABC's Abbott Elementary, class in session. So creator and star Quinta Brunson and stars Tyler James Williams, Janelle James, Chris Perfetti, Lisa Ann Walter, William Stanford Davis, and Cheryl Lee Ralph will join the executive producers as they take fans back to school with the behind-the-scenes conversation about the award-winning comedy. Next up after that, another ABC show with The Rookie. So here, that's from 1:45 to 2:45. You've got Nathan Fillion and the stars of that show who will discuss the evolution of the drama ahead of its 7th season. Next up at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., it's Tracker. Executive producer and star Justin Hartley, along with Elwood Reed, will discuss what made Tracker this season's #1 series and take a look ahead to the season upcoming in the fall. Up next from Legion M at 4:15 to 5:15 p.m., it's First Look at The Man in the White Van, which is a tension-filled white-knuckle thriller based on actual events. So here you'll see some of the most of the cast will be there. You've got Sean Astin, Madison Wolfe, Breck Bassinger, Sky Jackson, along with writer and director Warren Skeels, who will premiere the theatrical trailer and share clips from the film. From 5:30 to 6:30 p.m., we've got the Netflix animated series, Blood of Zeus. So you'll go behind the scenes with the show's writers, producers, directors, and cast. And they've got lots of cast. I won't read them all out, but Matt Mercer is going to be there. Chris Diamantopoulos is going to be there. And Cissy Jones is going to be there, and so many more. And then from 6:45 to 7:45 p.m., we've got a sneak preview of From, the show on MGM Plus. This will be season 3. The cast and creative team will take a sneak peek at the new questions and threats that await the townsfolk in season 3. So the cast isn't officially listed, but there is an autograph signing elsewhere happening, and listed there are Jack Bender, John Griffin, Jeff Pinkner, Harold Perrineau, Catalina Sandino Moreno, Ian Bailey, Elizabeth Saunders, and David Alpay. So I would imagine that most, if not all, of those people will also be on this panel. And that ends Indigo Ballroom.
This is another totally stacked panel room. Saturday's got some awesome options. So it holds again around 2,600. What do we think is going to be the chokeholds?
Abbott.
Abbott.
Yeah. I think
Like
it's gonna be
Abbott, and then the
as
next
well.
two after it at least, maybe even 3 after it.
Yeah.
I
The
think
Rookie definitely has a lot of fans. I mean, it's Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
I
think there's no reason not to just start your day there and stay.
No.
I mean, it's good enough stuff, It's like,
Yeah, absolutely.
if you want to assure that you're there for Abbott Elementary, just enter the day at the beginning. Just stay.
No, I totally agree with that. I think if you want to go to Abbott, I would get there like before 10 a.m.
Yeah. I'll compare to, I think it's around the same time slot that The Good Place used to get when it was here on Saturday afternoons. And that was a similar, like, if you weren't in there by the first panel of the day, you weren't getting in.
Yeah.
So
totally.
And do you think that any significant amount of people will leave after Abbott?
I think so. I think several will. I mean, again, I think Nathan Fillion is a big draw, so I definitely think some folks will stay for The Rookie. I would definitely expect a lot to clear out after The Rookie.
Yeah. And I mean, The Rookie and Tracker are both not genre shows, right?
They're not, but come on. People go to The Rookie are there for Fillion.
They're there for Fillion.
Let's be honest.
And Tracker, apparently it was the #1 show on regular TV last season. And Justin Hartley has been in he was in Smallville, so he's got the geek cred. But yeah, it's those are the shows where it'll start to lessen, but I wouldn't expect them to be like just walk in right
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. I also just want to say that I actually really appreciate that this day in Indigo kind of feels like a make good. Like we talked about with Eric Goldman, like obviously we're not owed anything, but after like a virtual panel for Abbott and then like last year's panel obviously got canceled, it's so nice to like have an in-person panel. And then that rookie feds / the rookie panel in 2022 that wound up being virtual, but nobody knew it. Like I was in that room and nobody was happy with that. So it's nice
Yeah.
to like get both of those panels as kind of like a make good back to back.
Yeah. I expect so too. So yeah, be in the room very early if you want. They're in there for Abbott or anything before Abbott, and then if you want anything after a couple hours is probably going to be good.
I was
Yep.
surprised to see that they didn't put that man in the white van and from kind of back to back there. They got that Blood of Zeus, the animated series right in the middle of it. So
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It might just have to do with like scheduling
Yeah.
times, trying to make everybody's schedules work. Sean Astin seems like he's got a lot going
He's a
on this week in
busy guy.
particular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thematically, it seems like it goes from like things for the grown-ups and then an animated one, which could also be just for the grown-ups. I do not know, but then like more psychological.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, with a name like Blood of Zeus, that doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
sound like family.
That
friendly
doesn't sound
to
like
me.
no.
Okay, so I think that's it for Indigo, and now we are going to move on to Carrie's favorite room on Carrie's favorite day.
Yeah.
Ed.
So it's Ballroom 20, which holds 4,800 people. It's my home. At 10 a.m., we kick things off with Ghosts, and they will be discussing the season 3 cliffhanger and looking at upcoming reveals for season 4. And even though the official description does not list cast, we did get cast in the press release the other day, which includes, I'm going to butcher this, and I am so sorry, Utkarsh Ambudkar, Richie Moriarty, Roman Zaragoza, and Rebecca Wizaki. So that is at 10 a.m. And then at 11 a.m. is Futurama, which will have Matt Groening, as well as several of the voice actors, including Billy West, John DiMaggio, Lauren Tom, Phil Lamar, David Herman, and Maurice LaMarche. And then there will also be precious door prizes in that panel, which surely means that you will walk out with a giveaway. And then at 12 p.m. is The Simpsons, which will again have Matt Groening as well as several of the other folks behind the series and guest moderator Kevin Smith. So I think that's pretty cool. And again, this one will have original drawings, prizes, and more. At 1 p.m. is American Dad, which will have stars Wendy Shaw, Scott Grimes, Rachel McFarlane, D. Bradley Baker, and Jeff Fisher. And then at 2 p.m. is Family Guy, and they are celebrating their big 25th anniversary, which will include several of the voice cast. And then at 3 p.m. is Critical Role, and they are bringing basically the whole cast for Critical Role, including Ashley Johnson, Marisha Ray, Taliesin Joff, Matthew Mercer, Laura Bailey, Travis Willingham, and Liam O'Brien. And then at 4 p.m., Apple TV returns to the convention with Silo Season 2. Rebecca Ferguson, Common will both be in attendance, as well as showrunner Graham Yost and the author of the book series, Hugh Howey. And that one is moderated by Adam Savage. And then at 5 p.m. is the Anne Rice Universe, which that will be a split panel for Interview with the Vampire, as well as Made for Witches. The first part of the panel will be Interview with the Vampire and have the showrunners and executive producers. And then for cast, they're bringing Sam Reed, Delaney Hales, Asad Zaman, and more. And then for Mayfair Witches. They've got Alexandria Daddario, Harry Hamlin, and some other folks from that series. And then at 8:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. or later is the Masquerade, and this is the big 50th anniversary event. They do this every year. It's basically a cosplay contest, and people go all out for this. It's a huge draw. They will give away, or you can pick up a ticket. The booth is kind of like outside Ballroom 20. You can pick up a ticket. If you don't get a ticket by 3 p.m., once they've let in all the ticket holders, they will still let folks in if there's space. And if not, as we mentioned earlier, you can watch it in sales, or they've got some overflow rooms. But this is a huge deal and always a lot of fun. And that does it for Ballroom 20.
Okay.
Interesting flow in this room.
Yes. So it's always, it's this way every year, honestly, in Ballroom 20, because this is basically the schedule that they do every single year. They'll have like a normal TV panel, and then they do the big animation block all together, which is a huge chunk of time. And then they'll like throw in some other stuff. But it's this way every single year on Saturday.
So there will be turnover. The room
Yes.
will have people coming and going, but the room will also be full.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
you assume this
because
room's gonna be full yeah.
If you're a fan of that Fox animation stuff, like this is your room, because it's all back to back. Like they bring all the stars, they show all the footage. This is so like people are definitely in there all day for that. And then all of these things have like big fan bases. Like Ghost has a very good size fan base at Comic-Con. So Critical Role definitely does. Interview with the Vampire, I think, is really big. I'm not so sure about Silo. I love Silo. Aaron loves Silo. I'm not sure if general Comic-Con attendees love Silo. But I'm excited for that panel. And then, as always, the Masquerade is very well attended. But
Well, Mariah in our chat is asking, do you think a lot of people will leave after Family Guy, leaving an easy walk-in for Silo? What do you think?
I am
Cole?
hoping so. I am definitely hoping that like a decent chunk of that room vacates after Family Guy. I mean, there are for sure people who will camp out all day long for interview or Critical Role, but I do think that enough people will leave after the animation stuff for others to get in. But if you were concerned about any of this, I don't know, I would probably show up like an hour and a half, 2 hours early, maybe. I don't even want to say that because I want to get in.
The major turnover times I see are going to be if enough ghost people make it in, they're all going to vacate immediately after that panel.
Yes, for sure.
So, and then of course, like you said, the animation block, they're all going to stay there through the whole thing for the most part. And then a bunch of them are going to leave, and a bunch of people are going to make it in for Critical Role. And then a bunch of those are going to leave. And so if you want Silo, I think you'll be able to show up probably about an hour, like before Critical Role starts.
Yeah.
And
that's
should
what
be
I
able
would
to get into
suggest for
Silo.
sure.
But then the other problem is that those people who like must get into the Anne Rice universe stuff, they're going to be showing up extra early because they want to make sure they get in for that. So they're going to be showing up the same, probably 2 hours before.
Yeah.
So it'll get a little crowded, but I think that's all you really need. Like you said, is an hour and a half to 2 hours max to get into those later ones.
And I will say, I may be vastly underestimating Silo's popularity, because our comment section right now is basically folks base talking about how much they love Silo. So I may be totally off base that's not going to be huge.
But luckily, I think those later panels have at much lower amounts of people sitting in the room for them that would be there for the earlier stuff. So there will be turnover in the 2, 3, 4 o'clock hour.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. It's just crazy busy. It's just gonna be crazy busy in that room.
Saturday, it's like every panel room is just stacked.
Yeah.
But that's also good, because it means that like not everyone is heading towards the exact same thing.
Right.
So hopefully that will disperse some of the crowds a little bit.
And it'll take people off the exhibit floor, and it will take people away from
Yes.
some of the offsite, some of the outside stuff,
Yes.
unlike
Yeah.
last year.
For the record, if anyone ever wants to shop a completely empty floor, do it during the Marvel panel. It's amazing.
It's a great time to go shopping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now on to the final room for Saturday and the biggest room. It's Hall H. Seats 6,500. And we are kicking it off at 11:15 with Superman and Lois special video presentation and Q&A. And this is going to be a special, as it says, video Q&A with stars and producers making their Comic-Con debut. It looks like it's going to be a bunch of the main producers and people like Todd Helbing, Brent Fletcher, Sarah Schechter, Jeff Johns. They're basically just be talking about what's coming up in the 4th season. And then at 12:30, we have Berserker, the Immortal Saga Unleashed. And yes, the iconic Reeves and the original Berserker creative team will be discussing the journey so far and reveal new details on the future across comics, a new novel, the upcoming Netflix live action film, and special surprises. So this is pretty awesome that Keanu Reeves is going to be there, and I think everyone will be very excited for that. Then at 1:45, we have the Star Trek universe. And this is where they just pack in all of the shows they want to bring into little mini panels in their full section. So there will be panels for Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, and the new Star Trek Section 31. And they'll just bring them out like probably half an hour each or so. And then at 3:30, we have Entertainment Weekly's Bold School, which is one of those conglomerate panels that they put together with a variety of people that are attending the convention, and they come in and like join them all onto a panel. And this is expect a lively discussion among fearless female and or non-binary forces in entertainment. And then at 4:45, we have the Penguin panel, which is from HBO /Max/DC. And this is the TV show sequel with Colin Farrell from the Batman movie. And Colin Farrell will be there virtually. So that means he won't be in attendance. But Kristen Milioti and Renzi Feliz and Matt Reeves and other executive producers will all be there. And then the big panel, 6:00, Marvel Studios, with, again, a very bland description of Marvel Studios president and producer Kevin Feige, and special guests provide an inside look at the ever-expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe. That is the most boring description of a panel that is likely going to feature sizzle and actors and everything.
I'm pretty sure it's the same description every single year as well.
It is the same boring description.
Mhm.
They don't need much more.
No,
They really
Yeah.
don't.
they don't
Like,
have to tell you
can-
anything.
If
Yeah,
you,
they
you,
could have no description and like it would not matter.
They
it
should
reminds
really,
me-
they really should need to do some year. I hope they do Marvel Studios, and then it just says "Nuff said."
Yeah, right. It's like the Disney Plus descriptions of episodes for when shows are dropping for Marvel and Star Wars. It's just like a one sentence thing that says, Ahsoka goes on a journey. It's like, okay. And then I don't know if we knew this was really expected, but Kevin Smith is back at 7:30. It's a panel with Kevin Smith, and there will be an exclusive sneak peek at his newest flick, the 4:30 movie, as well as information about upcoming shows, information on like the Jay and Silent Bob movies, Mod Castle Cinemas, Secret Stash Press, and Chronic Con. And it's basically Kevin Smith being Kevin Smith for an hour and a half or however long they let him stay on the stage. And that's it for Hall H. And really the only thing we need to say is if you want to be in the room for Marvel, you need to be there in line before wristbands are handed out on Friday night to get a wristband, because otherwise you're probably not going to make it in.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah, because we've had a lot of questions.
yes.
So let's just like walk through from start to finish, like how wristbands work.
Hypothetical.
Or
Hypothetical.
toucan trackers. I'm very
Yes.
sorry. They're
Toucan
wristbands.
tracker wristbands.
Yes.
So-
Toucan trackers.
basically the wristbands are your guarantee into the room for the first panel of the day. How do you get a wristband? You wait in line the night before. From when the wristbands start getting handed out, they will start at the beginning of the line and go until they reach the end of the line, however long that is, until they run out of wristbands. People will line up very early for this.
So let's talk a little bit about this part. So you cannot line up until they drop the green flag. And they will do that at some point very early on Friday morning. And you can find a map like on either Comic-Con's website or in our Where to Line Up or Hall H tracker. But that is where you will line up, because prior to that, like, the tents are being used. So they don't move you to the tents until at some point after Friday's panels. So you will not originally be lining up like under the tents. You'll be in that next day line.
So when to
And
line?
you mean physically plant a green flag?
Yes.
They're going to,
they drop a flag.
and at that point, it's time to line up.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
you
time
cannot
to-
line up until the flag has been dropped.
Which means there's going to be a lot of people strolling up and down that walkway, back and forth,
Yeah.
like they're extras in a movie that just keeps having the same scene filmed over and over again. So the wristbands. So someone in the chat says that I was told by a Discord group that wristbands don't guarantee entry. They guarantee entry if you're in line before 7:30 a.m. the next morning. So on Saturday morning. What happened in the past is there was an issue, and some people didn't get in with wristbands because of problems with I think it was counterfeiters.
Yeah.
So you get a wristband. They come through, they give you a wristband. They also check your badge, do they not?
Yes.
Yes, they do. So at that point, you have two options. One, you've got your wristband. You can totally leave. And all you have to do is make it back into the line by 7:30. Now, the one caveat to this is if no one is holding your spot, if you get like an A wristband and you leave, but like nobody's there to hold your spot, you're not going back to the A's. You're going to go to the end of the wristband line, but still you're in the wristband line. Or the alternative is someone, whether it's you or someone, can stay in that line. You can hold spots for up to 2 additional people per person.
So you
plus 2.
Yeah. One person, 3 spots.
So if your group is 9 people, 3 have to stay at all times.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. So those are your options. Basically, you can get your wristband and leave, or somebody within your group can stay, but they cannot hold spots for more than 2. And that is how that works.
So they hand out and it takes a while. It takes hours because the line is going to be very long. There's going to be 6,000-ish wristbands to hand out. So it's going to take some time. So also, when that flag drops in the morning, those are the people who want to be in the front rows. They want to be in the front section. If you just want to be in the room, just show up sometime on Friday before they hand out the wristbands. I don't know what time it is. It changes a little bit every year based on, how early, what other people are doing, how many happen to get in line.
I think it's 8 p.m.
That's when they hand it out.
Theoretically.
Right.
Yeah.
But we don't know, it's really hard to tell when that line was of when people got in line were the last ones to get a wristband. It's really hard to tell. So what you want to do is get into line, get your wristband, make your decision based on if you're alone, if you have a group, who's staying, whatnot. If you're going to want to keep your place, if you just don't care and you're just going to get back in line before 7:30 in the morning, you make your decision when you get the wristband and you just go from there. In the morning, you're going to be in the chutes. You're going to go in with your wristband. You're going to just get in the room. And if you want the Marvel panel, guess what? You have your home for the day.
Yeah. So I saw somebody, and I don't see it right now, who asked so no one without a wristband will get in all day. Unfortunately, on Marvel Day, that's kind of true because they don't clear rooms at Comic-Con. And quite frankly, anyone who makes it into Hall H on Saturday, is staying for Marvel. I mean, you will have a couple of people leave, but probably 95% are going to sit there all day for Marvel.
Right.
And Hall H has its own facilities.
Yep.
It
has
does.
Its own bathroom. It has its own food.
You can, though. They do still offer bathroom passes. So the way that the bathroom passes work for any of the major rooms is basically you can go and get a bathroom pass and leave, but you have to return during that same panel. So you can't just like go get a bathroom pass and be gone for 4 hours and then come back. Like that's not how that game works.
So we're going to answer some of the questions we see, but real quick, just wanted to cover that. Let me see, which one did I want to cover first? Okay, so first question, Sarah Sharp asked, best tips for getting into Superman and Lois when I have a Friday badge I want to utilize. Well, you're going to utilize that Friday badge for only a portion of Friday because some of it's going to be spent waiting in line for Superman and Lois. Now, again, remember, if you don't want front row, you can spend a lot of Friday enjoying the convention, but at some point before 8 o'clock, maybe even well before, sometimes people have said that, they got into line at 5 o'clock on Friday and did not get a wristband. It varies in time, but you're not going to be able to use your badge all day. Unfortunately, you're going to need to get in line at some point for Saturday.
But again, especially like if you work with a group, like have one person go stand in line for a bit and somebody else goes and does something, like take turns. That's the whole point of the like U+2 is so that like you're not stuck there the entire time. Like it's meant to like work in a group kind of.
Yeah. If you want to bring in food, that's allowed. You can bring in your own food. For the ADA line, there is an ADA line for Hall H. If you go to the front of the building where the big H is at the front and then look around the corner, if you're going to go behind the convention, the ADA line is right around there at that front corner. Just ask around of convention staff or security and they will direct you to where it is, but it is on that side of the building. What other things can we talk about for Hall H because it is such a big deal? Someone asked about if wristbands get in, and we were talking about that a little bit. Yes. If you don't have a wristband, you can get into the room. There is some turnover. People will leave. It is not,
But it's not much.
It is not a significant number of people. If you are in the first shoot after they let everyone in, there's a chance you may get in. Because I would say there's a chance throughout the day that a few hundred people will come and go and you may get in, but I would not expect it if you are further than the first shoot, which I think will hold like 500 people when it's packed in. I don't think you're going to get in until after. And it clears out after Marvel. You won't have a problem if you want to see Kevin Smith. Just show up, 20 minutes before Kevin Smith to get through the line and security, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. And I also want to clarify that, like, especially if you didn't listen to our last podcast, like Saturday with Marvel is really the only day that is this hardcore. Like, none of the other days are near this intense to get into Hall H. And if you're curious about getting into Hall H in the other days, you can absolutely go listen to that podcast from Friday.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that people that are fans of Star Trek essentially have to deal with the fact that Marvel fans will be taking up that space. If you are a Star Trek fan and you get in, then you're one of those people who only cares about Star Trek. You'll come in and you'll leave. You'll spend the day there until Star Trek and leave. And then there's that many number of people who will get in for the Penguin and Marvel. And those people will bless and thank you.
Yep.
That's about it for the whole panel, for all the schedule for the big rooms. It's a Saturday of Comic-Con for sure. It really feels like a Saturday at Comic-Con like we had 2019, 2018, just big.
I agree. Like basically every single panel room that we just discussed, like, has a totally stacked day. And I think programming did an amazing job this year putting together the schedule. Like, it is so exciting to see a pretty much normal kind of Comic-Con schedule and to see everyone back in mostly full force. So hats off to them. And I think Saturday's gonna be a great day.
Yep.
I feel bad for the people who are going to have to make some very tough decisions.
Yeah.
And I put this in our team talk the other day. It's like we have a few panels where we think, oh, that's a pretty small room it's a smaller room than we think they should get, but that just means the panels are so strong that it's just bound to happen that some panels are going into small rooms and they might otherwise deserve. So it's a real good sign.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The fourth Curious says, I hope the floor is wide open on Saturday. Yeah, it's never wide open. Sorry. It's less crowded,
No, it's not.
but it is never wide open.
Again, though, I'm telling you, if you want a wide open floor, go during the Marvel panel. Like it is a wasteland for that 1 hour. But it's great. Like I loved shopping then. So, yeah.
Well, we're going to cover some smaller panels that we think deserve attention, or that we just think are cool or fun or weird, whatever reason we feel like. So my first one, I'm gonna go first. My first one is 40 years of Usagi Yojimbo with Stan Sakai in room 23 ABC at 10 a.m. And it's the 40th anniversary of Usagi Yojimbo. And Stan Sakai will be joined by Julie Sakai, Jerry Blank, and Emi Fuji and Daniel Fuji to talk about all things Usagi. So I think that's pretty awesome that he's been going to Comic-Con for years. He's been doing this for years. He's even had a TV show now. I mean, it's just awesome. So, and it's in a small room, and you get to go and just hang out with a comics legend.
And he's just one of the nicest guys ever, too.
Yeah.
He's just a lot of fun to listen to, great to talk to.
And then we have another comic legend, as well as a bunch of other people, is The Last Ronin, the best-selling graphic novel panel in room 4 from 2 to 3 o'clock. And this is the, it's kind of weird that like one of the best-selling comics of the last couple of years is in this small little room to talk about. But it's Kevin Eastman, co-creator of the Turtles, along with Tom Waltz and Escorza brothers, Ben Bishop, Luis Antonio Delgado. And they're basically just going to be talking about The Last Ronin and maybe the fact that it's coming to movies soon and whatnot. So if you want to hear some stuff from the guy who helped co-create the Turtles, there's your chance.
Yeah.
And
to be fair here, though, Eastman is on several.
Yes, he's on multiple panels.
A lot of turtles.
A lot of turtles.
It's a big year for the Turtles.
Yeah, I feel like
it's the 40th.
I feel like the number one issue of Jason Aaron's coming out that Wednesday is sort of going to take precedence over the Last Ronin stuff, or take a little bit of the shine off of some of the Last Ronin stuff, maybe a little bit. But again, there's so much turtle content, Turtnado, as I called it to Carrie the other day. Turtnado.
Yep. And then the final one I wanted to talk about is just a fun discussion that I think would be interesting, and that's the variant age. Is it time for a new comics era? And this is going to be people talking about the fact that most ages of comics spanned about 15 years, like the golden, the silver, the bronze, the copper. The modern age has now lasted for over 33 years. But what era are we in now? Like, do we call it now and call it something else like the variant age? So I think that would be a pretty fun discussion. So that is in 29 AB from 4 to 5 o'clock. That's it. Johnny, what are yours?
Okay, so I've got two. First one's called Escaping the Algorithm, Building Community Outside of the Big Platforms, 1 to 2 p.m. in room 28DE. Holds approximately 297 people. So this is a discussion about new ways creators are choosing to build communities outside the traditional social media channels. And the reason I chose this one is because friend of the blog, friend of our show, Patrick Ballesteros is on it. So if you want to hear him talk about his work beyond for an extended period of time versus not really being able to talk because his line's always capped, here's your chance to hear more from him. And then the other one I've got is from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. in 5AB. It is called Diverse Storytellers Empowering Equity and Inclusion. I counted. There's 13 panelists on here. So in terms of bang for your buck, in terms of time, you get 13 panelists. And it's a really great, diverse array of people and different professions. So in terms of actors, you've got Nicole Maines, who I highlighted from the Friday transgender panel. You've got John Leguizamo. That John Leguizamo is going to be on this panel. You've got Meg LaFauve, who was the screenwriter for both Inside Out 1 and 2. You have Tom King, whose Supergirl miniseries is being adapted into a feature film, I think, by James Gunn, or the Gunverse. You've got Ross Ritchie, who's the founder of Boom Studios. You've also got a concept artist who worked on The Rings of Power and Black Panther. It's just a wide array of names and professions. And again, You get to see 13 people at once. I think that's very efficient use of your time if you've got it. And those are my two.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Carrie, what are yours?
Okay, well, honestly, I think the biggest news, not in the major rooms, is actually that they are doing a Doctor Who podcast live, which if you cannot make it to the Friday Hall H panel, Shuta Gatwa, Millie Gibson, and showrunner Russell T Davies will be recording the official Doctor Who podcast live at the Neil Morgan Auditorium at the San Diego Central Library. That holds only around 300 or 350 or so people, so it's not very big, which is why if you want to attend, you will have to sign up in the online exclusives portal as a lottery, because otherwise it would be an absolute madhouse. But I think it's really cool that they're doing this. Like, I love stuff that's a little bit more intimate, which is exactly what this is. So I think it's awesome that they're giving this opportunity. I think that's really cool.
Kind
That
of
is
like
cool.
And
it's like a Nerd HQ type, intimate conversation.
yeah,
So
exactly. So I think that's awesome. And then my other one is, I just love the name of this, and we know the folks who are putting it together, but several real life doctors and physicians will be presenting Bad Medicine, the many deaths of Sean Bean, in which they look back on the actor's 40-year career and the and many ways in which he has died across movies, TV, and more. That will be at 8 p.m. in room 9, and I think that will probably be hilarious.
Very
And
clever.
then super clever, and I'm like, for me, that wins best panel name of the weekend. The other one I wanted to mention real quick is that The Legend of Kingdom Come, which is the Mark Waid and Alex Ross comic, it is getting a documentary coming in the fall on Kickstarter. But you can go see a panel with Mark Waid, producer Sal Abenati, and then some folks like the acclaimed comics and television writers Julie Benson and Shauna Benson, just talking about the documentary. And that is at 5 p.m. in room 23 ABC. And those are mine. Aaron, what are yours?
I started with video games to be excited for in 2025 and beyond. This is at 11 a.m. Across the street at the Omni Grand Ballroom on the 4th floor. Kind of like nothing but trailers. I think this is just going to be like talking about going to have the trailers of games, which is of interest to me. I think it'll be calm and chill. It does have a host, Gareth Von Kallenbach, and staff from Skewed and Reviewed are going to be there. And unfortunately, this overlaps with Untold Stories of Comic Creators, which is at 11:30 in room 10 over at the Convention Center. I think this has some pretty cool people on it. Amanda Connor is going to be talking. Tony Fleeces, Pornsack Pichesot, and Mark Waid. So it's just a whole bunch of people talking about their starts, the interesting things that have happened to them, and it also says it's going to be game show style. So it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, a little bit loose. And similar to that is another game show one, Cat Got Your Tongue interactive game show. And that's with Art Baltazar, who is currently doing the Dr. Seuss graphic novels. The first one is out now. Lucy Kinsley. Oh, this one is called Cat Got Your Tongue because all the creators are all have stories with that deal with cats. So Art Baltazar has the Cat Out of Water from Dr. Seuss. Lucy Kinsley, House Cat Story of Despair, and John Gallagher is the creator of Max Meow. So they're going to be vying for the title of Coolest Cat by drawing their feline characters, which sounds like a lot of fun. Yes, I think it'd be really good for families.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Before we move on to Sunday, can I throw in a very, very late edition for Friday?
I suppose for Friday.
Oh my!
This is the Saturday.
Back in time.
This is the Saturday and Sunday podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead. No.
I know.
You're
okay,
the boss.
so
we'll allow it.
We didn't notice this until after we'd done it, after we've recorded the podcast. But if you are interested in the upcoming Warner Brothers animated film, The War of the Rohirrim, they will be showing exclusive footage at the OneRing.net panel on Friday at 8 p.m. in room 25 ABC. We didn't notice that until after. Sorry.
All right. Allowed.
All right. That's it.
Okay. So next up, we are going to move to Sunday. So this is now Sunday of the convention. Shorter hours. They close at 5 instead of 7. This is the final day. We have 3 rooms closed on Sunday that are normally operating, and that is Hall H, Indigo Ballroom, and Ballroom 20. The 3 biggest rooms.
So let's talk about this for a second. Indigo Ballroom and Ballroom 20 are pretty much always closed on Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah. Ballroom 20, because like after they set it up for the masquerade, like it would just be way too much work and not enough time to get it set up again. But Hall H normally is operating on Sunday, and my personal opinion is that the Comic-Con landscape has just changed so much, and I don't think it's necessarily anything to do with Comic-Con themselves. I think Hollywood is in such a weird position right now, and has been, in a lot of having a lot of financial issues in general. And if you notice, like we no longer have the heyday of Warner Brothers bringing like 18 shows to the convention, and FX isn't bringing like 5 shows. I think this year they've only got What We Do in the Shadows. So I think there's just Hollywood is just bringing a little bit less, and I think it's because they're just being a little bit more judicious with their budgets. So I don't think that's any fault of Comic-Con themselves. I think that's just the state of the industry in general. And I think especially with as stacked as Saturday is, as we all just saw, like I think maybe there's a world in which we could have gotten a little bit less stacked Saturday and things spread out more. But I also have to imagine that the cost of not running Hall H on a Sunday is exponential. So,
and also you have to remember that Hall H was not used for all 4 days of the convention when it started. It was only used for like 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think there's anything weird about it. And again, I don't think like it's anything necessarily to do with Comic-Con themselves. I think it's just the entertainment industry is just not what it was like 5-10 years ago. It's a very different landscape.
Yeah. All right, so let's get started on Sunday, and we're only going to cover the 4 rooms that are left of the ones we normally cover, and we're going to start it in room 7AB. And Erin, that's yours.
Yes, 7AB, as a reminder, is 480 people. They are starting it off early on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. with pop culture and the Christian church, exploring the effectiveness of the Christian church and reaching out to the comic book, animation, and gaming culture. At 11 a.m., Star Trek, boldly exploring the comics. The Eisner-nominated Star Trek line, led by IDW Group editor Heather Antos, is going to be there with Colin Kelly, Jackson Lansing, Ryan North. And although the schedule does say Liana Kangas is going to be there, we have heard otherwise that Liana Kangas will not be attending anymore. At 12 p.m., it's Take Me Away, and this is a literary panel talking a little bit about worlds and characters that readers will want to visit and revisit, with Jordan Fueco, TJ Klune, Rebecca Thorne, Sarah Wolf, and Deba Zargarpur. At 1 p.m., it's Everyday Villains, What Makes Someone a Villain and Not an Anti-Hero. This one has a whole ton of Comic-Con special guests, including Jerry Conway, Juanjo Gardenero, Eric Powell, Julia Wirtz, and comic creator Sweeney Bow. And it does say Liana Kangas, but as we said before, Liana is no longer going to be there. They're going to talk about how creators push their characters and themselves. 2 p.m. is Cover Story. This is an exciting panel led by moderator Mark Evanier. It's going to have some great cover artists, including J. Scott Campbell and Comic-Con special guest Joe Jusko, who did the cover to the souvenir book, Ken Stacy, and Klaus Janson. After that, at 3 p.m., it's the business of cartoon voices. What does it take to establish and maintain a career doing voice work? Mark Evanier again, which I think, didn't he say he was doing 16 or 17 panels, 13, something like that? Assembled a panel of one of the top voiceover agents, which is Sam Frischman, and 3 voice actors, Greg Berger, Debbie Derryberry, and Deborah Wilson. If you're interested at all in the voiceover profession, this will be one that you will not want to miss. And that's it.
Okay.
So what do we
Much.
think? Do we think
That's some good
do we think
stuff.
anything's gonna pack that room?
I don't think
No?
anything's going to pack it. No. There is-
although cover story may, because that's 4 really big names in
Yeah.
comics and
Yeah,
art. So
That's what I was gonna say. That's the only one that I would even like kind of worry about. All the rest, I think, just walk right in. If you're worried about cover story, maybe get there like 30 minutes early. But
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. So that takes us to 6DE, which holds around 884. And things kick off at 10 a.m. with Star Trek Prodigy, in which there will be a special screening of an episode from season 2, followed by an exclusive conversation with Star Trek legend Kate Mulgrew. And there will also be a giveaway. Thank you for that lovely note, Dottie. And then at 11:15 a.m. is the DC Book Club. Just like several of the other DC panels, they do not list who will be on it. But if you've got some kiddos, this is a fun panel because it's geared towards like middle-aged and young adult graphic novels, because Sunday at Comic-Con is Kids Day. So you get a lot more child-friendly programming. And on that note, at 12:30 p.m. is the Journey to Yo Gabba Gabba Land, in which the co-creators take a look back at the series on Apple TV Plus. And then at 1:45 p.m. is a Jellystone, and you will get a screening of the crossover event in which the Jellystones characters are going to meet basically the whole slew of characters from Cartoon Networks, like the Powerpuff Girls, Dexter, Samurai Jack, and so on. So you'll get to see that, and then that will be followed by a Q&A with executive producers, directors, and members of the voice cast. And then at 3 p.m. is Jurassic World Chaos Theory, in which they will be giving you a look at what's coming up for season 2. And pretty much the whole voice cast is there, including Darren Barnett, Sean Giambron, Kusar Mohammed, Ronnie Rodriguez, Paul Michael Williams, Kirsten Kelly, and there will be a giveaway. So that
All right.
is it for that room.
So again, I mean, that Star Trek Prodigy is the big one, I think.
I agree. I think that's the biggest, but honestly, I would also not sleep on that Jurassic World Chaos Theory. Like when that got announced, people seemed super excited about that one. So I feel like both of those actually might be pretty well attended.
But they obviously are far enough apart. You don't have to worry about either one thing with the other.
No, absolutely. But I think they will be well attended all the same.
So if you got time, show up and watch the Jellystone screening and hang out for that, and then stick around for Jurassic World. I mean,
Yeah.
Why not?
Yep.
But for the Star Trek Prodigy, how early do you think you need to get there? Do you need to be super early, or because it's Sunday morning, maybe just make sure you're there half an hour to an hour, just to make sure you're fine?
I mean, I don't know. If it was me, like I would probably show up an hour early, just to be safe. But because I mean it's Star Trek, and unfortunately, as we will discuss, unlike Saturday, there are not a lot of other panels to pull people in other directions. So I think all the Star Trek fans will be heading here.
Okay. All right. Next up we have a 6A. Take it away, Johnny.
All right, thank you. So room 6A once again holds 1,040 people. So 10:30 a.m. We're going to start with what they usually start with on Sunday morning. It's the Women of Marvel panel. So talent from across the Marvel universe will assemble to talk about breaking in as a creative and being a part of Marvel's 85-year legacy. This wasn't on the schedule, so it's not in my guide, but usually this panel does have a giveaway comic. Again, it's not in the description, but I would honestly expect it to have one at 11, and they have not announced any panelists yet. So 11:45 a.m. to 1:15 p.m. we have Cartoon Voices 2. So Mark Evanier back at it again. So here he'll have Debbie Derryberry, Daniel Ross, Jim Meskimen, David Ergo Jr., Deborah Wilson, and Fred Taskor. So that's your another Cartoon Voices panel. 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. we have Ultraman Rising and the new Ultraman Universe room. Ultraman Rising directors Shannon Tyndall and John Aoshima and Tsubudaya Productions will discuss the film and a raft of new upcoming Ultraman content. So you'll get a sneak preview of all things related to Ultraman, and you also get live appearances by Ultraman and friends. And then finally, at 2:45 p.m. to 4:45 p.m., it is Starship SmackDown 35. So this is basically they take a bunch of spaceships and intergalactic vehicles throughout different franchises, and they pit them together in a basically March Madness tournament style bracket to determine who is the winner. So you have a bunch of panelists there, and sounds like a good time. And they've done it. This is the 35th edition, so it's a mainstay. And
not running out of ships yet, huh?
Yeah, apparently not. And that is it.
That's a short day in that room, really. I mean, but Cartoon Voices, of course, is going to get a lot of people. I have no idea about Ultraman. I know it's popular, but I don't know how popular. So I don't know how many people are going to go for that. But I mean, if you're going to have a live appearance by Ultraman himself, I mean, why wouldn't you go?
Yeah.
And friends.
And friends.
And Starship SmackDown does get a nice big crowd also. It's a nice way to spend a couple hours at Comic-Con sitting and listening to people argue about spaceships and which one has bigger lasers, I guess.
Yeah.
Are there many?
Again,
I was just going to ask if there are many panels that are 2 hours long.
No, not many.
Not the movie ones. That's
right.
WB used to have those 2-3 hour spectacles, but yeah, in the smaller rooms, can't think of any.
So again, if you want to make it into Cartoon Voices, I would for sure try to be there about 90 minutes early, because those are always packed. And like James said, I'm not quite sure about Ultraman, but if you're worried, I also think a lot of people will clear out after Cartoon Voices, though.
Right. Okay,
so let's move on to 6BCF. James?
The final room of the day. It holds 2,160-ish. It opens at 10:30 for Dial the Gates Stargate 30th Anniversary Fan Celebration. And guests will be Eric Avari, Alexa Cruz, and Pierre Bernard, along with a selection of Stargate fans. Yes.
Just FYI, the Dial the Gate people actually emailed me and said that Alexis Cruz, Eric Avari, and Pierre Bernard will not be on that panel.
They won't.
Yeah, they just emailed me 5 minutes ago. Sorry.
Okay, well, at least it's not old news.
No, it's not.
Okay, so basically it's a bunch of fans talking about Stargate and the fact that it's 30 years old and discussing the movie. And then at 11:45, we have World of X-Men 97 and X-Men the Animated Series. Animation composer Ron Wasserman, Lei Uli, writer for Nightcrawler, Brooks Waschel, writer for Dark Phoenix, and Jake Castanera, director of X-Men 97. Going to discuss their behind-the-scenes experiences and participate in a Q&A moderated by Larry Houston, who was the producer and director of the X-Men animated series. So this is going to be a pretty good one. And then it is immediately followed at 1 o'clock by the X-Men fandom panel celebrating X-Men 97, featuring so many cast members: Cal Dodd, Lenore Zahn, Allison Seeley Smith, Holly Cho, J.P. Karliak, Isaac Robinson Smith, Gui Agostini, Catherine Disher, and Allison Court, all appearing, moderated by Chandler Pauling and Chris Riley of the X Reads podcast. This is a pretty cool panel that the fans could get all of these people to show up on their fan panel, essentially, which is really cool. And then at 2:15, we have the character of music, the art of scoring for animation. And this is just what it sounds like. It's some composers like Kevin Deanna and Sean Kiner, Joy Nagao, Sherry Chung, the Newton Brothers, and songwriter Alex Siebert, all talking about what it's like to compose for the animated. And then at 3:30, we have the Buffy Once More with Feeling interactive Whedonverse musical. So this is run by the fandom charities Hellmouth Con and 6 Degrees of Geek folks, and it's basically come and watch the episode and Rocky Horror it up, basically.
So for my money, I think that X Reads X-Men fandom panel is going to be the biggest panel of the day. Like,
Yes.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
X-Men 97 is huge at the moment. And the X-Men fandom panel is normally in 6A, and it is normally packed to the gills in like an hour to 2 hour wait. And even though it has moved up to 6BCF, which holds about 1,000 more people, with that much cast on a show that is huge right now, I think you are still looking at probably a 2 hour wait.
Yeah. So get there before the Stargate panel, the first panel of the day. Get in line at like 10-ish, whatever you feel like. Just get there before it starts. If you're really worried, get there even earlier. If you're not too concerned because you think there's going to be a little bit of turnover, get there 10:30 when the panel starts. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's going to be crowded.
It's going to be huge. And I also just want to say, you touched on this briefly, but I actually think it's so awesome. I mean, the X-Men fandom folks who put it on, it's like the X Reads podcast. They're super nice guys, and they do a panel every year just kind of like celebrating their love of the fandom, and they have really supported like the X-Men the animated series, and they've had cast members on their panels before. But I think it's so cool that this much cast are like showing out, as you said, like for a fan panel. Like, this is not a studio panel. Like, these podcast folks are putting this together, and I think that is so cool and good for them. So
it's awesome.
And real quick, sorry, if you also want to get autographs from these folks, don't forget that they are pretty much all signing at Unknown Comics, right? Isn't that where they're signing? Yeah. They're pretty much all signing at Unknown Comics. You can find the information on that in Johnny's autograph post.
So we don't actually have, the list is all there. A lot of them are going to be there multiple days. We don't actually have times, but from what we were told, they're basically going to be there throughout. Like, if they're not in the panel, they're going to be at the booth more likely than not.
So if you love X-Men 97, stop by that booth. I believe it's all first come first serve. So go and get some autographs.
All right, let's do our Dark Horse picks next, and then talk, like, just do some closing comments about the schedule and stuff. So, Johnny, why don't you do yours?
Okay.
Stole mine, but go ahead.
I stole yours? Well, I
was going to do this one.
So
yeah, you got it first, so you're good to go.
All right. Well, this is one of James' dark horses and mine for the day. It's my only one of the day, actually. So Godzilla -1's Path of Destruction to an Oscar win. This will be 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. in room 25 ABC. So Godzilla -1 won the Oscar this year for Best Visual Effects. So this will be a lively discussion of the history of the visual effects company that made this happen, as well as the collective effort of director Takashi Yamazaki's team. And of course, this panel will have a giveaway. So that is my dark horse.
Good dark horse.
Harry.
My dark horse is Deaf Representation in Pop Culture at 2 p.m. in room 4. It has actors, artists, and influencers who just speaking about deaf representation, including an actor from Coda, an actor from Days of Our Lives, an actor from Creed 4. So I just think this is a really cool panel that they've put together and should be really interesting.
Yes, my dark horse pick is at noon in room 11. I picked the Distillery live draw. It's going to have Jock, Mirga Adolfo, and Joelle Jones. They are going to be drawing in real time while also answering questions about their current projects and upcoming books for Distillery. It does say they might offer some exclusive giveaways, so that's always a bonus. And it's moderated by Distillery founding editor Will Dennis. I always love to watch Jock draw, so this would be great.
Yeah,
that's why I picked this one.
All right, cool. I have a couple. The first one is From Big Dots to the Digital Universe in room 4 at noon. And this is featuring Steve Oliff, who's been around comics for a very long time. He's colored thousands of pages, including Akira, Spawn, Sandman, and such. And he's going to talk about just the process and over the years and kind of a history of things. And also on hand will be the image color guide artist and painter Joe Chiodo. And if the schedule is willing, the current editor-in-chief of DC Comics, Mary Javins, will also show up to talk about coloring in comics. And I actually talked with Steve at WonderCon, and I think he's actually bringing back his creator-owned comic Armature soon in a Kickstarter, which I think is really cool because that comic was fascinating and lasted like 2 issues back in the day, but it's finally getting finished. And then we have what we didn't talk about at all, but there will, of course, always be the annual Comic-Con Talkback in room 25 ABC at 3:30. And this is your chance to talk directly to the people who run Comic-Con and give feedback about the event. And it's basically, you know, what did they do right? What could be improved? What, you know, go and let them know if there's something that you really loved or if there's something that you didn't. Let them know so that they can hopefully make some changes in the future, or at least, you know, feels good to let it off your chest.
Yep. Okay, so what do we think of the Sunday schedule?
It's a Sunday schedule. I mean, if the Saturday schedule is a Saturday schedule, Sunday is a Sunday. I mean, so many people are wanting to get out of town or they're just tired. It's been 3 rocking days of Comic-Con and they don't want to do a whole lot, so there isn't a whole lot planned. But it's good to see that they're still doing quite a few cool things. It's just not as packed.
Yeah, there's just, you know, it's almost like I said earlier in our chat that some of the 28 rooms kind of end up being the things that you would normally see in maybe the 6 rooms or the 7 rooms. It's not that there's not good programming, there's just not the big stuff that everybody wants.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, again, though, it's a pretty typical Sunday kind of schedule, like James was saying. So what this does mean, though, is that as per usual, the floor will be packed on Sunday. Offsite lines will be packed on Sunday. But again, all that is pretty normal. And it's actually just great to be able to say this is a normal Comic-Con kind of schedule.
Right.
Like we have missed those words.
Yeah.
I think
to
that's
normal.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing about going through this schedule is it's like this feels like pre-pandemic going through the schedule, knowing you're going to get a headache trying to figure out what you can make it to and what things you're going to have to cut.
The conflicts.
Yes.
Having to make choices.
Yeah, having to make choices is definitely more of a 2018, 2019 kind of feeling.
Yes.
It's not a great feeling, but it also is.
Yes.
It's not, if it's easy for you to make decisions, it's a less than strong Comic-Con. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Okay, well, we have a couple of reader questions that we're going to get to real quick. Jasmine asked, what time does preview night start? So officially, preview night is 6 to 9 p.m., but pretty much every single day they open up the floor a little bit early. So it just kind of depends on what they're able to do. Sometimes that's 30 minutes early, sometimes that's 15 minutes early, sometimes that's 5 minutes early, but officially 6 to 9, but it will probably be a little bit earlier.
So
go ahead.
No, I just want to point out it's officially 6, but and 9:30 for the other days. But if you look in the exclusive portal time slots, some of those are officially like a half hour earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do. I think they've done this
sure.
though in the past.
Yep.
I'm fairly certain if we went and looked, and I might be wrong, but I feel like they've listed them prior to start times in the past. And again, I think it's because like unofficially, like the floor does pretty much always open up early. But there have been 1 or 2 instances where it has not. So it is never like guaranteed.
And if you want to know why, just ask the question of who didn't take their stuff out of the aisle in time. That's all it is. It's just, is the show floor clean for people to walk through? And if it is, we open up.
Yeah.
We have a couple of
Yep.
preview night follow-up questions, and till we drop ask, what will preview night have? Everything it's going to have for the rest of the convention, pretty much, just no panels. So the show floor is going to be rocking like it is through the rest of the convention. Exclusives and whatnot will be available for the most part at a ton of booths, and so
I think you could see a few places who aren't selling specific things on preview night. I know that we've had a few of those in some of the posts that specifically say available starting on Thursday.
Thursday.
But that's I'm talking like less than 5% of what we've written up has said that.
Yeah.
Just
So if you're worried, it's always a good idea to go back and check the post. We always try to make sure that we include that kind of information. But yeah, by and large, it will be a normal floor, and it will be very crowded on preview night because, again, anybody who has a ticket for preview night, that's where they're going to be, the floor.
And then we have a question for how soon are we able to line up for preview night? I think it's almost whenever you like unofficially. I've seen lines on Tuesday before. So
Yeah, I don't
they-
know that there's like an official start
Yeah.
time, and I don't know when they letting you like into the convention. Like, do you guys?
Not really.
No, I do not know. I know that there have been days that I picked up my badge on Wednesday and the chutes up in the sales were already partially filled. I remember several years ago where they specifically said you cannot start lining up to get into the building or lining up for anything until the Hall H tents were up at one point.
That's what they say
Yes.
every year,
Yeah.
and that's just because of a safety issue.
Yeah,
But they also can't stop people from
milling about.
being on the sidewalks.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So again, like if you're concerned, keep an eye on social media. Like social media is your best friend during the convention, especially for like line updates and things like that. It's where you're going to get the most like real-time information.
and even if you don't like social media, just tolerate it for
Yeah.
5 days.
Yeah.
That's
The other,
it.
the other 360, you can go back to hating it.
Yep.
That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And
Yeah.
I know that like a lot of people have left Twitter and are other places, and I get that, but like for this convention, there is still like no better place to be to get real-time kind of
Yeah.
information.
You are I'll just say, yeah, I think if you're like intent on not using social media, I think you're doing your own Comic-Con experience a huge disservice.
Totally
So-
agreed.
So
Yeah.
Sarah asked
Okay.
about Ballroom 20 masquerade tickets. When do they go? I think they start handing them out at noon.
yeah, just
I think it says, yeah.
it's in the panel description. Let me-
While you guys
I
are looking
know.
that up, I'm going to address Brian's question about chocolate bars. Yes, there will be chocolate bars, and I think you'll be hearing about them very, very soon.
Very, very soon.
Very soon.
Very, very
All
soon.
right, so I've got I can read off. Doors open for audience seating at 8. If you're worried about getting a seat, free tickets are given out at noon on Saturday near Ballroom 20 and also at the Masquerade desk after 3. Now, I'm not sure where the Masquerade desk is. I don't know if anyone else here knows where that specifically is, but there are 2 opportunities for you to get tickets. A ticket guarantees a seat, but is not required.
I'm
And
also not sure what the masquerade desk is. I know that by Ballroom 20, there's like a little booth kind of set up. It's pretty hard to miss.
And from what I remember, and yeah, overflow viewing on large screens will be available in sales and Ballroom 6A, as mentioned earlier, if you're unable to get a ticket, but you still want to catch the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
and-
And they sell beer in sales
Oh.
during it, don't they?
Oh, it's been a while. I know they have like snacks. They used to
I
have
think they
Yeah.
sell beer. I'm pretty sure.
So it's
So
been a
there you
minute since
go.
I've done a masquerade. So
Yeah. So there you go. Okay. Do we have any other questions that we need to get to?
We have
couple
one about the ADA show floor entrance, which I think is around Hall B.
Yep.
If I
down
remember
by,
correctly.
Like A and B, they congregate in that area. And they let you guys in down there. So you don't have to go upstairs and then back downstairs.
Just hanging confirmed that I'm correct, and it is a full bar in sales during masquerades. So it can be a party.
for or it can be a problem.
Okay.
There's a good question. From M, how long will the blog update until after the last podcast on Tuesday before going dark for the con?
So
Hmm.
what happens is the convention will end, and then we'll spend a couple days writing up our recaps of things, which is typically like offsite reviews. We'll do our Shruggy awards.
Oh no, this
You've
is
got your
like
hand
think-
raised.
Before.
I think
I
I
want to know.
When do
Oh,
we?
before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before.
So we have our podcast that's going to be covering
Tuesday.
Yes,
on Tuesday.
we've got our
of
podcast on
all the
Tuesday.
news.
We will continue updating the site all the way up through the start of the convention. But I will say I get on site on Saturday, Aaron gets on site on Sunday, and I would definitely expect updates to slow. What we typically do is we will prioritize like the big updates. So like Marvel, who always announces at the last minute, like that still gets a post. But like some of the smaller stuff, we do tend to like stop writing it up and just start retweeting it. Yeah.
I mean,
Again,
I know I've asked a bunch of people like, here's my hard date is Tuesday, but I prefer to have it Saturday. I'd prefer to have everything written up before I fly out, but
I know. I've told
Things
so many
happen.
people. I'm
Things happen.
like, please send it to me by July
Yes.
19th,
Yeah.
please. But and nobody does. So yeah, we will absolutely still be posting all the way up to the convention. And who knows? Like, God, last year we got Lego in their booth, and like that was embargoed until 6 p.m. on preview night.
I think it was
So
9.
like,
I think it was 9 p.m. It was like
Was
after
it?
preview. I
Yeah,
think it was
it
like
was-
when preview night closed.
Yeah.
They said you could post it.
and that ended up
who
making a
knows?
lot of sense because they got a lot of
Yeah.
organic
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And
Their-
honestly,
their
the
booth
more
was rocking.
I thought a lot about it. I've been thinking a lot about the Lego booth last year for some reason. And I thought about why they had made that decision. I thought that, part of it may have been because of the I hesitate to call it a scavenger hunt, but the video cassettes. And I thought,
Yeah.
maybe they don't want people to be scouting Lego employees out while they're trying to hide those things around the gas lamp. So that was my theory. Hopefully we'll get the information and be able to share it a little bit earlier this year.
That would be the dream,
That
but
would be
that
nice.
depends on Lego.
Yep. Come on,
So,
Lego.
We'll see. Yeah.
Okay,
Come on,
real
Lego.
quick, Zach asked, will the next podcast cover exclusives and offsite lines? It'll cover all of the latest news up to that point, and also we will be answering questions just like this, but probably for a little bit longer, and about a variety of things beyond just panels and lines for panels. And then,
Good question from Anna.
yes, Anna, that was the next one. I have seen changes to exclusives. Should we keep an eye for the upcoming changes before they close the portal? Absolutely. They do make changes, additions, subtractions. So that's the reason why we say you need to keep an eye on it all the way up until the final day. And again, there you can submit and you can change. And we do, as Carrie mentioned, have a process of how to do that, a step by step on the site. So because it can be a little clunky, so help is needed.
Ellie asked, still no word with the Thursday Hall HTBAs. No, still no word. I mean, I would like to hope that they would announce it at some point before the convention, but we have a week and a half to go. So in Comic-Con timeline, that's ages.
An eternity.
Straight to VHS
Eternity.
asks, how early do we need to line up for the ublog party? You do not need to line
You
up
do
early
not.
at all because you have a ticket.
Yes.
I will say, so VIP will get in first. But yeah, like you don't need to line up early, guys.
It just means
Like,
you get your food order in first. That's all, and the drinks.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all it means.
Yeah.
Will
Maybe
everyone have
straight to
Up your merch.
VHS. Maybe they want to chat with us more. More time. The earlier you get there, the more time you get to spend with us.
Is there a seat for everybody that has a ticket?
So we don't guarantee a seat for everybody, but I will say when we did it last time, I feel like 95% of the people had a seat. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, our next podcast is Tuesday, 6:30, our normal time. We will not have a special guest, so we will spend the entire time covering news, offsites, exclusives, everything we've learned in the few days, because a lot of news is going to come out on Monday and Tuesday, most likely. So we'll be there for that. And again, if you want to join live, you can ask questions, and we'll hopefully get to as many as we can.
Absolutely. So I want to do just a little bit of housekeeping, which is that Prize Mule is returning. As per usual, we have some freaking amazing prizes. Like, you guys should see the length of the spreadsheet that we've got going. We are so excited to give those away to you guys. As per usual, you do have to be on Twitter. So again, get Twitter if only for the weekend. But the way that it works for anybody who has never participated is we will post a photo of, we have these like stuffed mules and one stuffed dragon, and we'll post a photo of it with the prize and in a location, and we'll give you some kind of direction, like come here and say a phrase or come here and sing a song. And if you do that, you're the first person, you win, and that's Prize Mule. But we've got some freaking amazing prizes. We're excited to give them away to you guys all week long. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is please join us in making friendship bracelets. I am trying so hard to make this a thing
I
this
think
year.
I think you've made
I
it.
think I have succeeded.
I feel like you did it.
I feel like I did it. And I'm very excited that even the Doctor Who and Star Trek thing is doing friendship bracelets. Johnny has his prize mule if you want to see what one of them looks like. Yeah, look for one of those in a tweet. But for the friendship bracelets, I am also going to figure out what the heck my personal schedule is. And then if I've got like 15 or 30 minutes, I'm just going to schedule like some time to do some friendship bracelet trading meetups, so that if you've made friendship bracelets, you can pop by and trade, and we'll try to do them at different times. So like maybe Thursday will be in the morning and Friday might be at night. So we'll try to like spread it out so it's different, but that'll be fun. And then Cups of Water will return. So stay tuned for that. If you are on our Patreon, we will post the details there for sure. Otherwise, just look for the tweet. And I for sure made some friendship bracelets for Cups of Water. So feel free to bring some friendship bracelets to that as well.
I still have made the same amount.
That's fine. That's fine. Other people have.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna get some of those twisty ties off of like my bread and things like that. I'm just gonna like chain a few of those together, throw on one of those. Yeah, throw on some paper clips, stuff like that. Maybe some bottle caps. I don't know.
Oh, good. Well, you will be receiving some friendship bracelets as well, I'm very sure, all week long.
Mm-hmm.
So you will then have friendship bracelets to trade.
All right.
There you go.
I think that's about it. So we have a newsletter. Is there still one more?
There is one more. I filled it out this morning with all the news that was in it, and it was like 150 lines long.
Nice.
From the last week. So Godspeed to Sarah, who then has to build it. But yeah, there is one more newsletter. You can sign up for it at the bottom of our site.
Cool. So thank you all for joining us. And Johnny, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me retweeting nothing but blog posts on Twitter at Johnny with 2 N's. Spell that out. You can also look at I've got the swag guide that got published today, the panel swag guide, and also I'm still updating the autograph signing pages throughout the week. So Aaron, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere at Bavarian Aaron. Carrie, where can we find more of you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon, posting about ducks. And otherwise, you can find me on the blog Twitter. James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere at Dan Regal, and you can also check out the Citizens of Lorcana, a weekly podcast covering Disney's Lorcana trading card game. Also, thank you to Beth, our producer, for editing the show and getting it into your ears and all the podcast platforms, which are...
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up in the blog. You can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio and Spotify, and the links are in the show notes.
And I actually just happened to see that the reviews. We haven't gotten a review in a very long time, I think. So hey, if you got a couple of minutes, go throw a review on iTunes or wherever you can review it, right? Just for fun.
Yeah.
A good
Just
one.
for fun.
Funsies.
I mean, yeah, we want a good one. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Don't-
If you don't like this, don't leave one.
Yeah.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email, info@sdccblog.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog or tweet us at st_comic_con. Thank you all for listening and watching, and everybody go shawarma.
Shawarma.
I don't know. Nice.